Christie has been very, very effectively and entertainingly attacking Donald Trump. And during a recent speech, and I will do my normal caveat up front, y'all know lots of things to be critical of Chris Christie over, including the fact that he supported Trump, stood by Trump in 2016. But now that he is speaking out against Trump, he is doing it in a really good way. Stylistically, even, it's really good to see. And because of how rare that is, not just the criticism of Trump within the Republican Party, but an effective and well-delivered criticism of Trump within the Republican Party, it is notable, and that's why we're talking about it. So during a recent speech at the Faith and Freedom Coalition event, he was correctly criticizing Trump, and the audience started booing him, but I like the way that he handled it. Take a look.
I'm running because he's let us down. He has let us down because he's unwilling. He's unwilling to take responsibility for any of the mistakes that were made, any of the faults that he has, and any of the things that he's done. And that is not leadership, everybody. That is a failure of leadership. And you can boo all you want. But here's the thing. Our faith teaches us that people have to take responsibility for what they do. People have to stand up and take accountability for what they do. And I cannot stand by. And as soon as I've started to be critical, after all of that, and after you offered me White House Chief of Staff, now what he does is call me names.
True. I'll show you another clip as he's walking out of this event, going after Trump more. But he's one of the rare Republicans who is effectively doing it within the primary, not the whole party, but within the Republican presidential primary, which is so strange because Trump is polling so much higher than everyone else. And so the only way you would think that you would change that reality would be to do something, point out to people that Trump shouldn't be the nominee. But instead, they just kind of stand there and say, I'm kind of good, and they'll lightly poke Trump. But you know, I'm over here and he's all right, but I'm over here. Well, he's crushing in the polls, so nothing's going to change unless you change it. But the unfortunate thing about this is Chris Christie, because of his criticism of Trump and because of how reasonable he is, at least on our metrics, he's not going to be successful. I would put a lot of money, unfortunately, on him doing very, very poorly in this primary, even though when you look at the options, he is more on the side, when you think about a spectrum, reasonable to not reasonable, more in the direction of reasonable, especially compared to Trump. Huge policy differences. We would get into so many different debates if we talked about all these different subjects within the political realm. But at least he goes about it in a way that is way more reasonable than so many of the other candidates. And for that reason, and this is a sad reality, he's not going to be successful within this within this current MAGA Republican Party. And then here's him walking out of this event.
People of faith in that room who want to hear the truth. And look, guys, we can't pretend that Donald Trump is a man of character. This is a guy who paid off a porn star. This is a guy who has regularly lied. This is a guy who's abused people who have worked for him. I mean, I consider myself, now that he's taken off on me, I'm happy to be with Rex Tillerson and with Jim Mattis and with John Kelly and with Mark Esper and with Bill Barr, who he called a gutless pig. I mean, this is not character. And what I was trying to make sure I emphasize to those folks in there is, if we are people of faith, the absolute, one of the cornerstones to faith is character. And it is an absolute lack of character. This guy offered me White House Chief of Staff, and then was on a podcast yesterday saying he never trusted me. Well, what does that make him? A liar or an idiot? It's one or the other. Because if you offer me Chief of Staff and you never trusted me, then you're an idiot. And if you did trust me enough to offer me Chief of Staff, then you're a liar. Either way, I don't think that's the kind of person we want behind the desk in the Oval Office.
Agreed. Yeah, and that point we talked about previously more on this, the fact that all these Trump supporters witness person after person go in and work with Trump, whether it be the administration or they were just in his circle in some capacity, and then pop out and say, holy smokes, this guy is a disaster, a threat. And they see that and think all of those people were always liberals and rhinos or something. And Trump, if you think he's hiring horrible rhinos, why does he have such a bad judgment then? Why is he picking all of these dishonest people that he never trusted, that are so ready to stab him in the back, and all of it? Why is that then? Why is he so bad at hiring that all these people pop out and say horrible things about him? Or is the one guy the common variable and everyone else might be a little bit more honest? If he is having all these experiences, maybe it's him and not them. And that's something that so many Trump supporters just will not accept. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.